Hey, this is Johnny Jet, and this is my travel podcast and my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to both if you're not a subscriber already. And today we have a special guest, my good buddy, Scott McMurren, otherwise known as Mr. Alaska. What do people call you?
I'm Alaska's travel guru.
You are. I mean, you weren't born in Alaska, but you know more about Alaska than anybody else. How long have you been living in Alaska?
42 years.
Wow. And
I'm older than dirt. Dirt was invented the year I was born.
what's that?
Dirt was invented the year I was born. Yeah.
Scott's a funny guy, as you'll find out if you don't know already. Scott has his own. Do you still have the radio show? You used to have a radio show for a long time.
I did have a radio show, but I'm just doubling down on my email travel newsletter.
Yep. And the Tour Saver.
Our Tour Saver book.
Yeah, I'm sure if you've been to Alaska before, as a tourist, you bought one of his Tour Saver books, which are like 2-for-1 deals for everywhere in Alaska. And I think it costs like $50 and it'll save you thousands of dollars.
Well, if you get me on a good day, if you talk to me on the street and have a $50 bill, I'll sell you a book.
They're $99.
Yeah, they're $99. But if you see me and you say that Johnny Jet sent you, I'll have no choice but to give you a super good buddy discount.
People are going to track you down. You better not go outside.
I'm telling you, I'm not going outside. I got my mask.
Well, unfortunately, this year, I assume you did not sell too many.
No, actually, what we did is we extended this 2020 book to go all through 2021.
Oh, good. That's a good deal.
Bought a book. Most people bought a book. Their trips got canceled, and they really want to come next year. So we made the decision early on to extend the book for the 2021 season.
So I've read that over 2.2 million people travel to Alaska between May and September every year. And this year, obviously, it got just decimated. I don't know how many numbers. I don't even know what the number is, but it can't be a lot.
The big numbers, Johnny. The big numbers are on the cruise ships, and no cruise ships came. The big numbers, the huge numbers, are on those 7-day itineraries that sail from Seattle and return to Seattle.
Right.
Like the Norwegian Joy and the Norwegian Bliss, 3,000-4,000 people on every ship. That's the big numbers.
I see.
But there are a lot of other cruise ships that come all the way across the Gulf of Alaska, and some dock in Anchorage, most dock in either Seward or Whittier, and then take in what we call the rail belt up to Denali Park, Fairbanks, and points beyond. Right. So none of that was going on.
But there are some smaller cruise ships still. I just read like Uncruise was operating, right? And they had a problem.
Uncruise started their season on August 1st with a sailing out of Juneau. 4 days into the cruise, the guy got a positive test result. So they came back to Juneau, put everybody in quarantine.
That sucks.
And the boat left for Seattle. They canceled the rest of they had four other departures, and it turned out it was a false positive.
No,
he didn't have it.
Are you serious?
Serious as a heart attack. It's such a bummer. But if you ever get the chance, Dan Blanchard is the guy who runs the show, and he is on it.
I heard Uncruise is a great company. I know. Yeah. I've had writers go on it before.
Yeah. They do a really good job. Dan is personally committed. When you're talking to Uncruise, you're talking to Dan. And so he did everything by the book, and it was like a real-time drill for his people.
So if I wanted to go to Alaska tomorrow, could I go? What would I have to do?
Yeah. Get yourself a home test.
Okay.
So take the test within 72 hours. I recommend those LabCorp home tests. It's called the Pixel.
Okay.
Because they'll send it to you for free. I mean, they'll bill your insurance, but
Right.
if you don't have insurance, they have an arrangement with Federal CARES Act that they'll pay for the test.
And you'll get it back within 72 hours, the result.
Well, you'll get an email. Whether or not it's 72 hours or not, it's questionable.
Okay.
But the thing is, you jab that Q-tip up your nose by yourself, stick it in the little baggie, FedEx it off, and then they will send you a note on your phone. And so that's kind of the metric.
On that test, you have to put the Q-tip up your nose. I can't imagine the home tests. People have to put that up their nose, because I went and got a COVID test a couple weeks ago, and the doctor did that to me. And I mean, literally, I thought he was touching my brain. It goes up there, and if I was doing it myself, there's no possible way I would have gone that far up. So I thought the home tests were more like swabbing in your mouth or spitting.
I don't know. I had 2 tests like you did,
Okay.
and it's like,
Yeah. I don't think the home test is like that,
I'm
because
crying. I'm crying.
Yeah, no one would do that to themselves.
Well, anyway, they're one of the tests that the state of Alaska will accept at the airport. You'll have it on your phone. Hey, I sent it in. I'm waiting for my test result. Sometimes you will get the test result within 72 hours. And then they'll say, fine, here's a voucher for another test. If you're here 7 to 14 days, we want you to test again. But the answer is yes. They've got some kind of funny requirements, but the answer is yes. You can.
So if I take this home test tomorrow, go up the next day, but the test result hasn't come back, do they make me quarantine?
They will want you to quarantine, but they don't have any enforcement.
I see. But obviously I would listen to them.
They want you, and see, this is the thing that's keeping me up at night. They don't have any enforcement. If you showed up and you don't have a test, and you aren't willing to pay the $250 they'll sell you a test there,
what happens?
they don't put you on the plane to go back. They just take your name and number. Well, we'll follow up with you.
Really? But they don't follow up.
They don't.
See that? I mean, New York is now following up, and Hawaii has always been following up. Hawaii is very strict. I mean,
Hawaii has a kapu tradition. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They've got a community mindset, a social contract that says, we're protecting our island.
Yeah, they don't mess around.
We don't have that here in Alaska. Most people, now that said, most people are following the protocol. They're doing their best. They're listening to what the public health people say and trying to be compliant.
Well, in New York and Hawaii, the locals will report you if they know that you're a visitor and you haven't quarantined. So are you saying that most Alaskans will not report tourists?
I haven't heard of anybody being reported,
Gotcha.
But it may not have risen to the top of my bubble there.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, I mean, are the restaurants open? What's it like in Alaska? Are people wearing masks? Are people going out to dinner?
There is a mask mandate in Anchorage, and we're in the middle of a 4-week shutdown because we had a spike in cases. And so restaurants are closed for dine-in, but a lot of good restaurants have set up tables outside.
Right.
And although you're used to 99-degree weather, Johnny, you can bring a light jacket if you want to. It's really nice out. It's super nice. It's a stunning day out right now.
Yeah. What's the temperature today?
Still out late, and so you can eat al fresco.
What's the temperature right now?
72.
And what does it go down to at night? 50?
50. Yeah.
It's great. It's sleeping weather. And listen, I've been to Alaska multiple times. I've seen you a few times while I've been there. Scott's an amazing tour guide. He knows all the hot places to go. Everyone knows him. You go to dinner with him, it's like you're going to dinner with a celebrity. And so are people getting takeout a lot? I mean, are the restaurants, are they surviving?
No, you can't survive on takeout. They're doing their best. Excuse me. Everybody's doing their best. So we get takeout a lot because we have our favorite, we call Moose's Tooth Pizza.
I love Moose's Tooth Pizza.
It's about 10 blocks away from our house. So we go there and get the pizza, and we have our favorite places that we go to all the time, and we
Moose's Tooth
support
is
them.
always packed. I mean,
You should
correct?
you should see the size of the tent they have out there.
Okay.
It's as big as Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, that place. And I believe it. I mean, every time I've gone there, it's just packed. And what's the movie theater called where they have food in the movie theater?
Beartooth.
Beartooth. That's right. I knew it was similar to Moose's
We
Tooth.
go there too.
Is the movie theater open?
The theater is not open.
Okay. Outdoor?
Johnny, it's Alaska. It doesn't get dark.
That's true. In the summertime, it does not get dark.
Yeah. Actually, it's getting dark at midnight now.
Okay.
And we're saying, why is it so dark out? I can't see.
Well, I've been there one time in June, and it does not get dark. It really gets dark. And we were playing volleyball at midnight. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, you know, come December, January, man, it doesn't get light out.
No, it doesn't. The snow is on the mountains. It reflects the light that comes through. Beautiful pink and blue, alpenglow, and then the northern lights are out.
What's your favorite month in Alaska?
My favorite month?
Yeah.
September.
Is it?
Yeah.
I would
Beautiful colors everywhere. And plus, I know this will come as a shock to you, but I had a brand new knee put on.
Oh.
And so I've been out of commission for about 5 weeks now. So September 2nd, we're going back into Wrangell St. Elias National Park to one of my favorite places called Kennecott Glacier Lodge.
And where's that?
It's in the
How far from Anchorage?
it's an 8-hour drive.
Whoa.
So it's almost to the Canadian border.
Oh my goodness.
And so it's right at the edge of the glacier. There's a huge glacier. You can walk to the glacier, and you can rent these crampons, and they'll take you up on a glacier walk. Or it's also the former site, or the site of what was the world's largest copper mine. And the National Park Service has renovated a bunch of buildings. It's beautiful. We love it. That's where we go instead of Denali. Although Denali right now,
yeah,
it's a great place to go because there's nobody there.
I bet.
There's nobody there. People are going in their bikes. People are driving their own cars.
The bears must be coming out.
The bears are out. All my friends are taking pictures of the bears. It's awesome. And then Kenai Fjord. So I meant to tell you, I should have told you, there's a method to my madness with it regarding coming to Alaska at this time. We call it our staycation summer because nobody's here.
Right.
I mean, we're sending people down to Seward. There's still boat rides out to Kenai Fjords National Park. You know, when President Obama came to Alaska, that's what he did.
Okay.
He got on a boat ride, went out into Kenai Fjords National Park, and then he was saying, "Why have you kept Alaska from me? I've been in office 8 years. You've kept it from me."
Wow.
He loved it. And
how about Trump? Has he been?
Excuse me?
Has Trump been there?
Yeah, he's been to the airport several times to gas up.
To gas up on the way to Asia. Yeah, well, you gotta get off the plane and you gotta go check out the beauty of Alaska. So what do you think? Do you think tourism is gonna bounce back next year? Do you think people are gonna be able to travel? I mean, they need it. I mean, I can't imagine Alaska surviving without it.
Well, I think people will travel. They'll travel differently. And I don't think it's going to be a bounce right back. I think it's going to be a long slog to get back to our 2019 numbers.
Right.
Because, you know, think about it, Johnny. There should be a vaccine so that you and I can get on planes again.
Right.
Okay. And then there's going to be the issue of who gets the vaccine and when.
Have you flown since, when was the last time you flown?
February 26th.
That's about the same. That's about the date I flew. I flew the end of February. I don't know what the date was, but.
Yeah, I went down to Seattle overnight, a couple of meetings, and then came back, and I have not been on a plane since then.
Wow. And that's unusual for you. I mean, you're always traveling, especially in the summertime. I mean, you're exploring. You've explored pretty much every corner of Alaska. True?
there are still a couple of corners that I've not turned over the rock.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, some of the islands down in the southeastern part of the state, they're
Yeah.
waiting for me. They're calling for me.
What's the most
Um,
beautiful part of the state?
oh, that's not fair. That's not fair. I love Kodiak.
I heard,
Kodiak is glorious.
I heard that.
Um, but I also love Cold Bay, which is out on the Aleutian, but it's an acquired taste. Typically, I go there because my son loves to hunt and fish. So he taught me how to hunt and fish.
And what are you
So
hunting?
huh?
What do you hunt for?
So in Cold Bay, we hunt for geese, for ptarmigan. You can hunt for moose and bear, but we have not done it. And it's mostly geese because it is home to the Eisenbeck National Wildlife Refuge, which is, 90% of the migratory birds in Alaska stop there to beef up on the eelgrass. But I'll tell you, last year we went out to St. Paul Island, which is literally in the middle of the Bering Sea. They call it the Galapagos of the North. We saw the fur seals were out there. They come up and they just swarm the island, the northern fur seals.
Must be beautiful.
It is. It's incredible. And also migratory birds and so forth. There are lots of, I mean, Johnny, I've been here 42 years. I'm still working on my list.
Right. Has anyone
still
seen
working
more
on
of Alaska than you?
Oh, yeah. There's lots of people who've seen more of Alaska than me. The cable guy, he has to go out to these places that are still quarantined. A lot of villages on the North Slope, nobody gets in and nobody goes out because they're keeping a sharp eye on this COVID stuff.
Right.
Unless the cable goes down, then charter the plane, get that guy out there and fix the cable. So those guys are out there. They see a lot of Alaska.
I bet. Actually, I've been watching a lot of YouTube lately since I cannot travel, or I chose not to travel because I don't think it's the right thing right now. But there is, I love these live webcams, and one of them is of the float plane airport in Anchorage. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's awesome.
Dude, I've lived it. Lake Hood.
Yes,
I've
in
been
Lake Hood.
back and forth. It's the busiest float plane base in the world.
Right. But there's a live webcam on it. So you can see it 24/7. So when I'm bored, sometimes I just flip to that channel.
So here's what I do. I go like this. Oh, over there. Everywhere in Alaska is on a flight path. And when I first got here, my first apartment was about a half a mile from Lake Hood. And the first morning I woke up, man, I thought we were being attacked. I mean, there was a right off the deck. I sat bolt upright. I'm thinking, what is going on? And I've flown out of there many times. In fact, the other cool webcam that you highlighted was Brooks Falls.
Yes, that is
The
amazing.
Bears.
Where is that, by the way, in terms of from Anchorage?
That's in Katmai National Park. It's about 400 miles southwest of Anchorage. And they had a rough start. They didn't open up until like the 23rd of July because they couldn't get the national park people in there because of COVID.
Right.
And then they got a case. They shut it down. They finally opened it up. And Johnny, I can get you 25% off at Brooks Lodge between now and August 30th. They're running a special.
Is that right next to that?
It is right next to the bears wander through there.
I mean,
I've been out there a couple times. These are big bears.
Listen, if you have not seen this channel, you can Google Johnny Jet, the coolest webcam ever. It will come up. It is remarkable. It's only in the summertime because obviously it's frozen over and dark. In the wintertime, although I made that mistake when I first learned about it, I was like, wow. And everyone's like, that's a recording. So in the summertime, these bears just sit there in the river, and these salmon are going upstream, and it's just like they're just plucking them and just eating them. The seagulls are flying around them trying to get the scraps. It is honestly the coolest nature webcam I've ever seen. And
What's also cool there, in addition to the bears are super cool, but I've walked that Brooks River. It's about a mile long. I've walked it 2 or 3 times fishing it. It's fly only, catch and release, but you
salmon,
pull out some major rainbow trout.
but they're eating salmon, correct?
They're eating salmon eggs.
No, but the bears that are going up. I mean,
Oh,
you
the
can see
bears
that.
are
You can
eating
see the
salmon.
jump. You can see them jumping.
Yeah, the bears are eating salmon.
Okay.
The rainbow trout live there year round.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can't fish year round. I guess you could drill, right?
There's ice fishing. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
not for
you
me.
could. You
Um,
could.
so I know the nearest, the closest place to Russia. I don't know what the name. What's the name of that town? It's only 50 miles. Have you ever been to Russia?
I have been to Russia. I've flown twice from Anchorage to Russia
How
west.
long? How long's that flight?
Well, the one I took most recently was 4.5 hours to Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky,
That's right. It's on the 737.
and it is 737. The one I took before that was on a Tupolev 154. It was on Aeroflot, and it was about 3 hours, and we went to Anadyr,
Okay.
where we cleared customs.
It's too bad they don't have one that goes, from the closest, the border almost, where it's just 50 miles and had the flight like 30
no, it's
minutes.
2 miles.
Is it 2
2
miles? I thought I read it's 50 miles.
From, well, from Little Diomede to Big Diomede is 2 miles.
Wow.
But Big Diomede is 25 miles to the Russian mainland. Little Diomede is 25 miles to Port Clarence,
Okay.
which is at the end of the Seward Peninsula. So
I
it's 50
see.
miles.
I see.
And there is an air service, Bering Air, in Nome that does Russia charters.
Okay. And how long's that flight? 30 minutes? 50 minutes?
Well, it's a couple hours. It depends on where you're going, to Providenia, or which little village are you going to? Because typically the only people who can get visas now are family members.
I see.
And so it's just pretty much families. And so it depends on which.
Is that
which
because of
village.
COVID or is this pre-COVID?
No, it's pre-COVID.
I
Bering
see.
Air has the contract
I gotcha.
for family travel. It's a bilateral arrangement that we've made with the Russian government, although it's strained right now. For example, that plane that flies to Petropavlovsk, neither U.S. embassies nor Russian embassies are issuing visas right now.
That's a problem.
So it's a problem.
Big time.
Yeah.
What was it like, by the way, going to Russia?
Fabulous. Loved it.
They speak English?
Some of them do. Most of them speak Russian.
I figured.
But
You speak Russian?
спасибо, пожалуйста. Меня зовут Scott. Очень приятно.
Good.
Vodka, Moskva. I actually went over there and met I'm in a Rotary Club here. So
Okay.
there's a Rotary Club over in Petropavlovsk. And I actually stayed at a B&B. There's one lady from Homer, which is down the road from us. One lady who has a bed and breakfast there in Petropavlovsk. She's the only American on the Kamchatka Peninsula. And I stayed at her B&B there. So it was great. Took their Mi-8, their choppers, up to the Valley of the Geysers. There's a UNESCO World Heritage Site up there where you're basically like Yellowstone. All these geysers and
Awesome.
volcanoes and stuff. It's fabulous.
And people were friendly?
Super friendly. Yeah.
And how was the food?
The food was great, because it's mostly I ate at Martha's place.
And what's at
You know,
Martha's?
She's the lady with the B&B.
I see. Is it mostly fish? What are you eating?
Do we have any fish?
Moose?
I can't even remember. It wasn't that remarkable. I mean, they grew potatoes and
Gotcha.
tomatoes and made bread.
Okay,
and they had a lot of raspberries.
that sounds pretty good right now.
So it was doing pretty good. They were
So
fishing in the river.
speaking of national parks, I think I read that Alaska has the most national parks out of any U.S. state. Do you know if that's true?
50% of all national parks are in Alaska.
Wow. So that is true.
Yeah.
And how many of those have you been to?
I've been to Glacier Bay. I've been to Katmai. I've been to Kenai Fjords. I've been to Denali. I've been to Wrangell St. Elias. I've driven past Gates of the Arctic, but I've landed in Anaktuvuk Pass, so that's inside. It really doesn't count, you know. So that's about those are the ones. Oh, I've been to Lake Clark National Park too.
I know you've been to a lot more. You just can't remember right now.
Well,
Every time I'm looking at your Facebook or somewhere, you're always out when it's pre-COVID, and
yeah,
hopefully
I'm big.
post-COVID.
I'm big on traveling around Alaska.
Yeah. So because there's not a lot of tourists, I mean, are the locals actually enjoying this unique time where where they're not fighting with like all these
Oh, there's no
crowds?
RVs on the road. There's plenty of parking places, plenty of camping spots. Everybody's out on the trails. You know, I wish that our mask up quotient in town was a little better.
I see.
But once you get out in the sticks, it's great. And that is the story that we're telling. Get out into the sticks.
Right.
It's glorious.
Yeah. So before I let you go, what's your best travel tip for people going to Alaska besides buying the Tour Saver, which everyone should definitely check out if they plan on sightseeing and you're going to be with one or more people?
I would say the number one travel tip is I don't care what time of year you're coming, you should have a good thin layer of long johns and a good thin layer, base layer top, long sleeve, long underwear top. Additionally, have a good hat and some light gloves. Don't get the bulky ski gloves. They're not going to do you any good. Just go to REI, look them up online and get the Mountain Hardwear, um, 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 thin layer gloves. Because when, it may be a hot day, but you're getting right up close to the glacier and there's a cold wind going to be coming.
So even in June or July?
June, July, any time of year. Because you may, once you get here, decide that you'd like to take a trip up to Denali and land on the Ruth Glacier, which you can do. Guess what? You're going to get out and it's going to burn the bottom of your nose. Okay. So you're going to have the sunscreen too. I know you're big on sunscreen.
Yeah, I am. But I'm not big on those float planes. I've only done it once in Alaska. And after my first experience, I was like, I'm not doing it again. But I know you have a different take on it than me. You like the float planes.
I do.
Maybe I just happened to have a bad flight, but man, it was so bumpy. And this is 20 years ago, I was out there on that float plane.
I remember with Blondie.
Yes, my old girlfriend. She was a flight attendant. And as a flight attendant, she was about to get sick. And I was like, man, if a flight attendant's getting sick, you can imagine how I was feeling.
Don't wobble that camera, man.
Yeah, I just moved it.
So I'll hook you up with the right people.
Okay. So the float planes aren't always that bumpy.
No, but I mean, flying is weather, Johnny.
I understand that, but I know in Alaska, it's, the air is thin. When one time I've been to Fiji multiple times and French Polynesia, and you take these float planes, even in storms, they're like, oh man, I'm going to be so worried it's going to be really bumpy, but they're not because the air is so much thicker, I believe. So
I'm short of breath just thinking about that.
Yeah, well.
No, and by the way, so anyway, you land on the glacier and everything is fine until the sun goes behind a cloud and a little breeze comes up.
Gotcha.
Then you're going to be glad you remembered that Johnny Jet's guest told him to get the little gloves.
Yep. How much do they cost?
Huh?
How much do they cost? $30?
I got some at Fred Meyer for $10.
Okay.
You can spend $35 at REI on the Mountain Hardwear one. They last longer.
I almost always carry like a ski cap in my carry-on bag, even when I fly in the middle of summer, no matter where if I'm flying from Hawaii to Fiji, I'm carrying one of those caps because those planes get freezing cold
That's
and
the
you
other
never
thing.
know, especially
Yeah,
if you're by the exit, bro.
yeah,
Exit.
yeah.
So
You're absolutely right.
yeah.
Absolutely. The other tip, of course, sign up for my newsletter,
And we're
alaskatravelgram.com. Free.
alaskatravelgram.com.
Yeah,
Everyone remember that.
yeah, yeah.
Well, Scott McMurren, I appreciate you taking the time. It was last minute. We are just emailing. I said, hey, you want to jump on a Zoom and talk about Alaska? And Mr. Alaska never fails.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
All right,
Great to
Scott.
see you. Give my best to Natalie and your expanding family. They're
Thank
so
you.
big.
Thank you. And please, same to your family.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks, Johnny.
Bye bye.